I coach people now who have way more degrees and have more certifications than I have, right? But I realize in order for other people to heal, they have to see me be broken.
When you are willing to be vulnerable and show that you've been through something, then you are willing to say to the other people, come along on this journey with me.
I can't heal if I don't reveal. I have to expose it.
I could not really come into my full purpose.
Wow.
And that's why I refuse to even engage with people that are unwilling to be truthful. I couldn't understand why God always gave me this clear vision.
Why do you think at this particular point in time, 2025, as Black people, we don't understand the true definition of family?
Wow. You know, I didn't know. And it's, if you don't mind,
Absolutely.
For me sitting on this side of the table, having this conversation is a little different than when I'm sitting in your seat. So I'm going to speak for myself. I think the reason we don't get it is because it's comfortable not getting it. Because we have to force ourselves to talk about the things that we don't want to talk about, the ugly things. And sometimes we want to keep that picture looking a certain way. It reminds me of a conversation I had with some relatives that are not on this side of the family that we're connected. And they would always tell me, or always say, don't talk my business, or don't tell them anything about me. And I never understood what that was about. But they were real big on education. They were real big on image. They were great people, but it was all about the image. One of my other relatives that I'm very, very close to said, one day, hopefully before they're gone, we're going to find out what the backstory is. And there's always a backstory of why people try to cover up things. And if you're unwilling to if you're unwilling to talk about the things that are being uncovered, that need to be uncovered, then you're unwilling to heal.
So with our people not wanting to be healed, and
I think they want to be healed, they're just uncomfortable with revealing it.
Well, yes, I think.
Or maybe they don't want to be healed.
I don't think
they don't want to be healed.
No.
Okay, well, let's talk.
The only reason I say most people don't want to be healed, it's almost like I said, they endure the pain. They like to hide it, right? But just like being hurt, or let's say you cut your arm and you're bleeding, right? And you know, you see the wound is still there. And if you see it starts turning gangrene, but you don't go to the hospital to get it fixed, right? Some people would rather die than to go
because they don't want to tell the story,
right,
of what caused. Right. Why did I get to this point?
So, right, this is why I said part of them is like they don't want it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they don't.
You don't want it, so you would rather sit there.
So you rather sit in shame?
Yeah. So this is the part where I'm just like, how do we help our people think like it's okay to heal? You know, you don't necessarily have to stay hurt or have to stay covered up, you know, and us as being the trendsetters and the curse breakers, that's why I put myself out there so much. You know, I tell people like earlier in our show, you was like, you know, talk about your education. I mean, you were saying that since I'm educated, I was like, I'm probably the least educated person here. Right. And I meant that. And you know, people like, well, you went to school, you got all this other stuff. I'm saying, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like having degrees and having certifications, that doesn't mean anything because like I said, I coach people now who have way more degrees and have more certifications than I have, right? But I realize in order for other people to heal, they have to see me be broken.
Wow. And you know, it's funny you say that. When you are willing to be vulnerable and show that you've been through something, then you are willing to say to the other people, come along on this journey with me. Because I'm no different than you.
Right.
You know, and so when I think of, and since we're keeping it personal, when I think of my family, we love our family. Yeah. With everything inside of us. So hopefully, family, if you're listening in, I'm sure you're tuning in. This is not a dig on you guys. Right. But because when we're talking about ourselves. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. So we're not separating ourselves from you. And so I'm going to speak for myself. It's very difficult, I believe, for us sometimes to look at ourselves in the mirror, and then be accountable for what part we played in it.
Right.
It's easy to go back to say slavery or mama and daddy, but what part are we playing in it today?
Yes.
And so it brings me to my cousin Pam, which is your mom.
Hey, mommy.
Hey, cousin, I hope you're listening. Pam has like you said, she's the connector. Even before I really got connected with Pam the way I should, my mom would always say, I love my niece. My niece she loves her family.
Right, she does.
She reminds her of her brother. And mom's brother was one of her baby brothers, younger brothers, but he was much younger, but they were very connected. And Pam, your mom, has a spirit that just wants to always bridge the gap.
Right.
But sometimes when you're bridging the gap, you have a lot of people that have their own shame and their own issues that don't want to connect to bridging the gap. And so, but her calling, just like you said, your calling was to break generational curse. Her calling in life is to continue to bridge the gap.
Yes.
In spite of people not wanting to connect.
Ooh, let me pause the record. Let me ask you this question. Because as soon as you said that, one of the things that I had to do recently, again, with trying to break the curses and do things that makes you uncomfortable, what was the one conversation that you had with a family member that you knew you had to have that freed you?
Oh, wow. You taking me there.
Yeah.
The one conversation that I had to have, I needed to know if I was betrayed by one of the closest family members I have.
Wow.
And I needed to know if this family member knew something that came out later, years later in my adult life. I got to find out some truths to something.
Wow.
And there was one person in particular that I had to ask him, did you know? And I knew that was going to be a crossroad to whether or not I was going to deal with them going forward or I was going to cut them off.
Yeah, yeah.
And the difficult thing of that was there was a lie that was being carried out in our family for years. I believed the lie because that's all I knew.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was 60, probably about 59.
Wow.
I was told the truth. Can you imagine at 59 finding out that something was a lie? And not until you're that old finding the truth out.
Yeah.
And when I got to hear the truth, it broke me. But it didn't shatter me. It broke me. And there was one person in particular that I needed to have the conversation with. Thank God for my husband, who just my rock. But there was one person in my family I needed to have this conversation with because this was a person that I considered my brother. And if my brother, who was also like your mom, that navigated through the family, was so connected with, he's the bridge. He was the bridge. And if he knew this truth all these years and never shared it with me, I knew I couldn't have you in my midst.
Wow.
And so I had to pick up the phone and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And thank God, and I believe in my soul that he did not know, because when I had the conversation, he came clean.
Wow.
So that was.
Yeah. Do you think if you had known, I have a similar story. Do you think if you had known earlier, your life trajectory would have changed?
I think so. From this perspective, I think I could have seen and accepted things a little different. I think that because I didn't know and I didn't understand how they were moving and why they moved the way they did, I could only deal with them from this perspective. Right. Had I understood and knew it sooner, then I can be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I wasn't given that grace.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times what we end up doing is we keep things away from people, thinking that we're helping them or because of their own shame.
Very, very true. I had a bunch of uncomfortable conversations on purpose. Because again, for me, I know that I can't heal if I don't reveal. I have to expose it, you know what I'm saying? You know, and my problem, I get frustrated with people because they don't tell the truth sooner than later.
Yes.
Right. Which is actually one of my problems, and I'm gonna say problems in life. It held me back because I hate when people lie to me.
Yes.
I'm like,
yes, get out of my space.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So most of my life I felt lied to until I started having conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started, even my mom, you know, I had a conversation with my mom and my dad because I always felt like nobody guided me through life. They were just like, do what you want. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I made a whole lot of bad decisions because nobody was like, do this, do this, do that, do that. So I went to blaming.
Yes.
For years. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Well, I'm over here about to just just jump over this table because I didn't so much just go, well, yes, I did. I blamed people, but I also was stuck.
Right.
I could not really come into my full purpose.
Wow.
And that's why I refuse to even engage with people that are unwilling to be truthful. I couldn't understand why God always gave me this clear vision of when someone was lying. I was always able to read a person or to see a person, but I couldn't really understand it to the full magnitude until I got hit with something so deep. And so now when I'm sitting and engaging or I hear people talking, it's almost like it's just so clear. Full of shit. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know if you cuss on your platform.
Yeah, it's
you
fine.
know, full of shit. Yeah. I'm not fit to engage.
Right.
So I think a lot of times for me in the past, I spent a lot of time really trying to make other people comfortable because I was so uncomfortable. And I knew in my soul something was off, but I just didn't know what it was.
Why do you think we do that? Why do we try to make people feel uncomfortable? Why do we keep denying ourselves?
To fill a void that has not been healed or have not been exposed because we don't know. Yeah. I didn't know why I was doing a lot of the things that I was doing, but it was something there.
Yeah.
And again, I think because we don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, all growing up, I was always known as the happy kid, right? I was always happy. But I was like, I was actually a very angry person.
yes.
I was actually pretty angry. So I got a couple of questions. We'll get to those in a second. Lord, but I was actually pretty angry because, again, I felt lied to for the most part of my life. So, like, when I can tell when somebody's lying to me, it would irritate
the hell out of
me, right? So that's why we talked about it before me, like going to family functions. Like, why don't you just want to go? Because I don't want to be around a bunch of fake people. I don't like.
Can I go there?
Please go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, when I absolutely love my family. You know, we've been taught to say we love our family. We've been taught to actually love our family. Cool. And I really do. But do I want to just tolerate them anymore? Absolutely not.
Right.
If I go to a function and I'm going to ask who's coming because I need to be able to prepare myself or choose not to come. Because I don't want to just sit in the room just to be in the room to check a box to say that I want to be present. I want to be able to enjoy.
Right.
And one of the things that I think that has held me back in the past of being present in the room had a lot to do with how I felt about myself and what I knew.
That's true.
So imagine having a whole lie for 58, 59 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And then several years later, well, you know, and you're dumb. I'm just a young 61,
yes,
you know, and I find out then that was a lie.
Right.
You know, so now when I show up in the room, I'm a different version.
Yes.